Good day everyone. We are now through discussing distance formula, so we proceed to the next. Let us learn how to find the midpoint of a line segment, or the midpoint between two given points in a Cartesian plane. So what is the most essential learning competencies for this topic? Finds the midpoint of a line segment. Learning objectives. Number 1, find the midpoint of a line segment applying the midpoint formula. Find the midpoint of the sides of a triangle, and find the other endpoint of a line segment given one endpoint and the midpoint. So these are the particular vocabulary for this topic: midpoint formula, coordinate plane, leg, and hypotenuse. What is a coordinate plane? Coordinate plane is a plane that is divided into 4 regions by a horizontal line, which is called the x-axis, and a vertical line, which is called the y-axis. The location or coordinates of a point are given by an ordered pair x, y. X being the x-coordinate or the abscissa, y being the y-coordinate or the ordinate. You can find the midpoint of a segment by using the coordinates of its endpoints. Calculate the average of the x-coordinates and the average of the y-coordinates of the endpoints. The point halfway between the endpoints of a line segment is called the midpoint. A midpoint divides a line segment into 2 equal parts. So if we have here a segment which is 10 feet, then these two figures are 10 feet apart. So this figure says we are 10 feet apart. And then this figure says I'll meet you halfway. So where will they meet? In the midpoint, in which they are both equal to, their lengths are both equal to 5. So midpoint is actually the average of a line segment. Midpoint M of AB. The midpoint M of AB, or line segment AB with endpoints A, x sub 1, y sub 1, and B, x sub 2, y sub 2 is found by M, capital M, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So this is what we call the midpoint formula. So if we have here point A and point B comprising the segment AB, then all we have to do to get the midpoint, the coordinates of the midpoints, for x, add the coordinates x sub 1 and x sub 2 divided by 2. For y coordinate of the midpoint, add y sub 1 and y sub 2 all over 2. Okay, so all you have to do is to memorize the midpoint formula, as you have also memorized the distance formula in our previous lesson. Helpful hint: to make it easier to picture the problem, plot the segment's endpoints on a coordinate plane. Let us now have our first example, finding the coordinates of the midpoint. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of segment PQ with endpoints P, negative 8, 3, and Q, negative 2, 7. So first, we plot the points negative 8, 3 for point P and negative 2, 7 for point Q. What do you think is the midpoint between, or the midpoint of this line segment, or the midpoint between these two given points P and Q? So this is the formula for the midpoint, capital M, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. Then we will now substitute x sub 1 being negative 8 and x sub 2 being negative 2, y sub 1 being 3 and y sub 2 being 7. So substitution, negative 8 plus negative 2 all over 2, 3 plus 7, 2 is equal to negative 10 over 2, 10, 2, which is equivalent to negative 5, 5. So therefore the midpoint of this line segment PQ is at negative 5, 5 here, this particular point. Okay. Next, Find the coordinates of the midpoint of EF with endpoints E, -2, 3, and F, 5, -3. So same procedure as we have done in our example 1. Yun. First, plot the points E, -2, 3 in the quadrant 2, 5, -3 in the quadrant 4, connecting the points, forming a line segment EF. So what do you think is the midpoint of this line segment? So using here, our x sub 1 is -2, x sub 2 is 5, so we have -2 plus 5 all over 2, y sub 1 is 3, y sub 2 is -3, so 3 plus -3 all over 2. -2 plus 5 is 3 halves, 3 plus -3 is 0, 0 divided by 2 is 0. So this is now the midpoint of the line segment EF, 3 halves 0 here, 1.50. Okay, it's on the x-axis. The midpoint of this line segment is on the x-axis, 1.50. Alright, example 2, finding the coordinates of the endpoint. M is the midpoint of xy, segment xy. X has coordinates 2, 7, and M has the coordinates 6, 1. Find the coordinates of y. So this time, the given one endpoint and the midpoint. So we're going to find the other endpoint, the coordinates of y. X, one endpoint is the coordinates 2, 7, while the midpoint has the coordinate 6, 1. What's the coordinate of the other endpoint, which is y? So how do we solve that? Step 1, let the coordinates of y equal x, y. Yes. So use the midpoint formula. So yeah, just substitute, since we have here 2 plus x, 2 plus x all over 2, 7 plus y, 7 plus y all over 2. Okay, and then how did you get that? We will equate this to 6. 2 plus x all over 2 is equal to 6. So what will be our answer for x? Yun. Since the midpoint has the coordinate 6, 6, 1, then 2 plus x all over 2. 2 plus x all over 2 is equal to 6. 7 plus y over 2 is equal to 1. Yan na. So 6 equal to 2 plus x over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. That will become 12 is equal to 2 plus x. Then solve for x. 12 minus 2 is 10. X is equal to 10. So the coordinates, the x coordinate of the other endpoint y is 10. How about the y coordinate of the other endpoint y? So equate 7 plus y all over 2 to 1. Multiply both sides by 2. Then 2 is equal to 7 plus y. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. So the coordinates of the other endpoint y is 10, negative 5. Okay. So that is how we solve the other endpoint, given one endpoint and the midpoint of a line segment. Check it out. S is the midpoint of RT. R has coordinates negative 6, 1, and S has coordinates negative 1, 1. Find the coordinates of T. So this is the same solution as in problem on our previous example. Given one endpoint and the midpoint, find the coordinates of the other endpoint. Yeah. Step 1, let the coordinates of T equal xy. Use the midpoint formula. So, ayun. Negative 6 plus x all over 2, negative 1 plus y all over 2 is equal to the coordinates of the midpoint. So, negative 6 plus x all over 2 will be equal to negative 1. Negative 1 plus y all over 2 is equal to 1. Step 3, find the x coordinate. Yan. Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 1 is equal to negative 6 plus x all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2 and then simplify. So that negative 2 is equal to negative 6 plus x. Add negative 2 plus 6 is equal to 4. X is equal to 4. So the x coordinate of the other endpoint t is 4. How about the y coordinate of the endpoint t? The other endpoint. So equate 1 to 1 equals negative 1 plus y all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. So 2 is equal to negative 1 plus y. Add both sides by 1. So 3 is equal to y. So therefore the coordinates of t are at 4, 1. Or 3 I should say. 4, 3. Alright. In coordinate geometry, there is more than one way to determine the midpoint of a line segment. Method 1. You may find the midpoint by simply dividing the length of the segment by 2 and counting that value from either of the endpoints. Find the midpoints of line segments AB and CD. So the length of line segment AB is 8 by counting. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The midpoint is 4 units from either endpoint. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the midpoint of AB, which is located at 1, 4. I mean, the coordinates of the midpoint is at 1, 4. So on the graph, this point is at 1, 4. Now we proceed to the length of the line segment CD is 3 by counting. 1, 2, 3. So the midpoint is 1.5. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5 units from either endpoint. So on the graph, this is 2, 1.5. 1.5 to 1.5 is the midpoint of line segment CD. Method 2. If the line segments are diagonal, more thought must be paid to the solution. When you are finding the coordinates of the midpoint of a segment, you are actually finding the average or mean of the x coordinates and the average or mean of the y coordinates. So if we have here, how do we find the midpoint of line segment AB? So what we have to do is to add their coordinates. Negative a plus b all over 2. So negative 10 plus 20 is 10 divided by 2, which is equal to 5. Right. So okay, we'll know that this is the midpoint formula. X sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. Y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So this works for all line segments, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. Find the midpoint on a number line, QR, method 1. So the distance from negative 3 to 4 is 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. By counting 7, and what is half of 7? 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, which you add to negative 3. The midpoint is 0.5. So add 3.5 to negative 3. The midpoint therefore is 0.5. 1 half here. So 1 half is the midpoint. And method 2, using the midpoint formula, negative 3 plus 4 is 1 half. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1 divided by 2 is 1 half, or 0.5. Find the coordinates of the midpoint. Temperature. Find the coordinate of the midpoint PQ. Q 40, P negative 20. The coordinates of P and Q are negative 20 and 40. Let M be the midpoint of PQ. So add natin, negative 20 plus 40 is 20 divided by 2 or 10. So the midpoint is 10. Now, find the coordinates of M, the midpoint of PQ. 4, negative 1, 2, and Q, 6, 1. P, negative 1, 2, Q, 6, 1. So we will use the midpoint formula. Add the x coordinates, 5 halves or 2.5. Add the y coordinates, 2 plus 1, 3. 3 divided by 2 halves, 3 halves. So the midpoint of line segment PQ is 5 halves, 3 halves, or 2.5, 1.5. A different approach to a different problem. Find the coordinates of an endpoint. Find the coordinates of x if y is at negative 2, 2. Is the midpoint of xq. And q has the coordinates 2, 8. Okay, you can see that in the graph. Q has the coordinates 2, 8, and y has the coordinate negative 2, 2, being the midpoint. What is now the coordinates of x? Okay, it's located here, I think in the quadrant 3. So this will give you an idea of where x is located. So to solve midpoint problems, it's better if we're going to plot the points so that we can visualize the location of the point we're trying to find, whether it be a midpoint or an endpoint of a line segment. So solving using method 2. Okay, same problem. We can now solve for since the midpoint is at negative 2, 2, then we're trying to find the value of the other endpoint x. Let it be z, brethren. X of 1 plus 2. Yeah. X of 1 plus 2 all over 2 plus y sub 1 plus 8 all over 2. X sub 1 plus all over 2 will be equated to negative 2. Y sub 1 plus 8 all over 2 will be equated to 2. So we have here negative 2 equals x sub 1 plus 2 all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 4 equals x sub 1 plus 2. So the coordinates of x, is negative 6. How about here? 2 is equal to y sub 1 plus 8 all over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. 4 equals y sub 1 plus 8. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So the coordinates of x is negative 6, negative 4. Okay, did you get? Okay, let's continue. The distance from point A to B is 4 units by counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, and the midpoint is 1/2 way. For any 2 points, x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, the midpoint is given by the formula. You know it. Always remember. Always try to memorize. X sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. Okay, another example. Find the midpoint of the line segment which has endpoint 7, 2 and negative 3, 6. X sub 1 is 7, y sub 1 is 2, x sub 2 is negative 3, y sub 2 is 6. So using this formula, substitute negative 3 plus 7, add the x coordinates divided by 2. 6 plus for y coordinate add 2 plus 6, 6 plus 2 all over 2. So we have negative 3 plus 7 is 4 divided by 2. 6 plus 2 is 8 over 2. So final answer is 2, 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay. So the midpoint is at 2, 4. Next. Segment AB has one endpoint A, negative 1, 5. The midpoint is C, 7, 3. Find the other endpoint B. So we have here the midpoint 7, 3. One endpoint at negative 1, 5. What is the coordinate of B, which is the other endpoint? Okay. AB. So C is the midpoint, A and B are the 2 endpoints. What is the coordinate, or what are the coordinates of point B? Let us equate the midpoint formula to the midpoint 7, 3. X sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to 7 all over 3. But x sub 1 is negative 1. Substitute natin. Yun, negative 1 plus x sub 2. Ito naman y sub 1 is 5. Multiply both sides by 2. This will become 14 plus 1, so 15. Ito naman, multiply both sides by 2. So 6 minus 5 is 1. So the coordinates of endpoint B is at 15, 1. Gets nyo? This is just an easy topic, much easier than the distance formula. What is the average of 70 and 41? Okay, what's your answer? 5 seconds. Okay, what's the average of 70 and 41? Just add it. The midpoint halfway between the endpoints of a segment is the average. 17 plus 41 is 58. Divided by 2. So the average of 17 and 41 is 29. So average is just synonymous to midpoint. Use the number line to find the midpoint of AX. Okay, by counting, what's the length of AX? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So the midpoint is 4. Just add 4 to negative 5. Negative 5 plus 4, 1, negative 1. So negative 1 is the midpoint. Next, find the midpoint M of a segment on the number line with endpoints R, negative 20, and S 33. The answer is 26.5. It's just the average. Find the midpoint M of a segment on the number line with endpoints R, negative 20. Teka, parang negative 20, 26. Parang may mali, no? .5 is the answer, yes. If this is positive 20. Yan. Yung nagkamali tayo doon. Just get the average. 20 plus 33 divided by 2 is 26.5. Next, find the midpoint M of segment with endpoints 412 and G 86. Okay, can you answer this orally? 10 seconds. Time's up. What is your answer? Answer is 69. How did you get that? 8 plus 4, 12 divided by 2, 6. 6 plus 12, 18 divided by 2, 9. Okay. I think we can do it orally. Next, find the coordinates of M, the midpoint of GH for G, 8, negative 6, and H, negative 14, 12. Can you do this for 10 seconds? Time's up. What's your answer? The answer is negative 3, 3. How? 8 plus negative 14, negative 6 divided by 2, negative 3. Negative 6 plus 12 is 6 divided by 2, 3. Negative 3, 3 is the midpoint. Next, find the coordinates of the midpoint xy for x, negative 2, 3, and y, negative 8, negative 9. What's your answer? These are the choices. The answer is number 2, negative 5, negative 3. Negative 2 plus negative 8 is negative 10 divided by 2, negative 5. 3 plus negative 9, negative 6, negative 5, negative 5, negative 3. What is the average of 17 and 41? Answer, 29. The average of 25 and some number is 39.5. What's the other number? Can you answer this for 5 seconds? Time's up. The answer is 54. Did you get the same answer? 25 plus x is equal to 25 plus x divided by 2 is 39.5. So 39.5 times 2 minus 25, you get the answer 54. Find the coordinates of D if E is negative 6, 4. If E negative 6, 4 is the midpoint of DF, and F has the coordinates of negative 5, negative 3. So we're trying to find the coordinates of the endpoint D, the other endpoint, which E is the midpoint, negative 6, 4. F, the other end, the one endpoint is at negative 5, negative 3. What's your answer? Negative 7, 11. Can you do that orally? Negative. Ito, yung midpoint times mo lang ng 2. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12 plus 5. Yun, negative 7. Ito na, 4 times 2, 8. 8 minus negative 3 or 8 plus 3, 11. I think that's the shortcut method. You can do it orally. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12 minus negative 5 or plus 5. Yun, so negative 7, 11. Negative 7. 4 times 2, 8 minus negative 3 or 8 plus 3, 11. Find the coordinates of R if n, 8, negative 3 is the midpoint of RS and S has the coordinates negative 1, 5. We have here 4 choices, 5 seconds. Answer is number 4, 17, negative 11. 16 minus negative 1 is 16. 8 times 2, negative 16 minus negative 1, or 16 plus 1, 17. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, minus 5, negative 11. What is the measure of segment PR if Q is the midpoint of PR? Can you do this for 10 seconds? Okay, if Q is the midpoint, therefore PQ is equal to QR. So PQ is also 6 minus 3x. So hint, you solve first for x so that you can be able to solve the length of PR. 10 seconds. Answer is 2. X is equal to 2. And if x is equal to 2, 14 times 2, 28 plus 2 is 30 units. Okay, did you get the same answer? I hope so. So for your exercises, number 1, find the coordinates of the midpoint of MN with endpoints M. Negatives 2, 6 and N, 8, 0. Answer 3, 3. Yes. 8 plus negative 2, 6 divided by 2, 3. 6 plus 0, 6 divided by 2, 3. Number 2, K is the midpoint of HL. H has coordinates 1, negative 7. And K has coordinates 9, 3. Find the coordinates of L. 5 seconds. The answer is 17, 13. Just multiply the midpoint, coordinates of the midpoint by 2, subtract it to the coordinates of the other endpoint, the given endpoint, should say. So 18 minus 1, 17. 6 minus negative 7, 13. Yes. Find the distance of the nearest end between 6, 5, S and T, negative 3, negative 4. Distance formula, still remember? Square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. That's your answer. Answer is 12.7. Well, 6 minus negative 3, 9 squared, 81. 5 minus negative 4, 9 pa rin. 81 plus 81, 162. Getting the square root of 162 is 12.7. 4. The coordinates of the vertices of triangle ABC are A, 2, 5, B, 6, negative 1, and C, negative 4, negative 2. Find the perimeter of the triangle ABC to the nearest end. Okay. So to find the perimeter of this triangle ABC, you need to get the length of each side, AB, BC, and AC. Distance formula pa rin ito. So pinaghalo ng distance and midpoint formula this lesson. And your answer is 26.5. I hope you get that same answer. We're trying to solve this problem number 4. So for your quiz, you can screenshot on this part. Given the endpoints of a line segment, find the midpoint. Use the midpoint formula. 1, 2, 13. Okay, screenshot nyo na. And for quiz number 2, find the given the midpoint and one endpoint of a line segment, find the other endpoint. Okay. Screenshot and screenshot yun na for quiz 2, quiz 1, quiz 2. So thank you very much for listening. That is our lesson on the midpoint formula. Our next lesson will be the division of a line segment, which has 3 cases. Okay, see you. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.